Welcome back. It's been a while, huh? Been a long winter. The last stuff we filmed, that race seat in AJ's car, was like 2 months ago. So I've been just doing work when I can, and so I've been here working on the car and stuff when I can, the shop when I can. There's some new interesting stuff that's going on, some new things happen. But mostly I've been like just working on this a little bit for when I got the time. As you can see, it's pretty pulled apart. So I've got a bunch of stuff I need to do on the interior, safety wise and stuff. It's gotta be a little more practical. There's a bunch of wiring that doesn't work in it and stuff, so I took a lot of stuff out, stripped a lot of stuff out that I'm not using. Underneath the hood, kind of the same story. I don't like those headlights, those gotta go. I was gonna take the mirrors off and change those too, but I'm not sure about buying new mirrors because that can get expensive real quick for cool ones. So I'm gonna probably sell the headlights. I've got an idea for like a drift style headlight setup that you guys have probably seen before.
Okay, so I didn't really plan this out too much when I filmed it, so I'm gonna throw in a voiceover here. What I'm doing is I'm relocating the battery to behind the driver's seat. It gives me more room to work up front and kind of balances out my weight left to right in the car. So first step, run the wiring. I already ran the positive wire from the back, and now I'm doing the negative, which is going to my kill switch, which is going to be in the dash in the place of the radio. So the first thing I did was run the wires and made sure that I had enough wire to get there with the proper connector on the end. Now moving to the front of the car, I pulled the wire through, made sure I had enough to get to where I needed to go. I roughly lined it up to where it's going to be mounted, and then gave myself a little bit of play and a little bit of slack, just to have room to wiggle, because you never know what could go wrong. The cable that I'm using for my ground wire, from the battery to the kill switch to the main wire harness, is actually a cable that was once in my old drift car, my AE86. It has the proper connectors on each end and has plenty of length, more than I need. So the ends that I cut off to mount to where the battery used to connect gave me enough left over on the inside, on the other end of the piece, to use from the kill switch to the battery. That's going inside the car. Moving on to the front of the car, I undid the switch that was once there for my kill switch. It was connected to the negative grounds, to the wire harness, and to the chassis. I undid that so I can use it inside the car. Quicker and easier access. Then I passed the negative wire and the positive to where I thought it suited the best. Ran it around to the appropriate place so that I can get it to exactly where the ground wire is all connected before. I'm keeping most of the wire harness and all the wiring that was in there, everything connected for now, because I know it was working. So if ever there's a problem, I can easily revert it to the way it was and troubleshoot from there. Now I'm mounting everything temporarily, just to make sure I can get power to the car and everything works out. I've got a few wire issues to deal with.
Okay, so what we've got now, it's a little dark. Let me find a light. Just had it. If you can see what I was just doing before, I attached some ground wires and stuff to the original ground spot. I eliminated the switch that was there. That's just temporary. Don't worry about it. That one too looks like a pretty solid connection. So all the wiring in the front should be good to go. Now, if we look inside the cabin of the car, so it goes through there. It's all sealed up on the other side. Don't worry about that. It's gonna run underneath where the heater goes, through the console, the negative, now going here to my switch, which I might make the faceplate for this part first, but that's gonna take some planning, so we gotta figure that out. Then anyways, so negative here, I have this other piece. It's gonna connect to the switch, which then continues back here to the battery. So I got my positive and the negative hooked up to that Optima. Should be good. I'm gonna also, not right away because I don't have it, but I will put a fusible link on the positive, because that way if I do get a short anywhere else inside the car, it won't blow up, light on fire, and destroy everything I own. I guess the name of the game now is planning ahead.
So with all said and done and everything buttoned up in the front, again, just temporary for now, just so I can test things out. Moving on to the inside, it's time to get the rest of the wires ready. I've got to cut the wires to length, strip them, and then connect them to the proper connectors that'll connect to the battery and the switch, which could prove to be kind of tough because they are relatively big wires and big connectors to kind of deal with. So I have two different styles, and one's a little bigger than the other, a little easier to work with. So the negative one is going on the side battery post, the one that screws in, and the positive wire will be connected to the battery post that's like a standard style that's usually on the top. I laid the battery down because it's a little better balance like that, I would suppose, a little better weight balance. It's lower on its side. Just did it because I could, basically, because it's one of those Optima gel batteries. It won't ever leak. Sitting on its side like that, everything cut the length, mounted up. Now it's time to check and see if everything else is going to work. So I get the switch connected roughly where it's going to be. Just for now, again, I have to run the wires around the back of the dash so that they're not interfering with anything and they're not just hanging out and looking hideous. I have to make a panel that's going to hold this switch and other switches, so it's going to clean up the interior a lot. It looks horrible now, but it's going to come together, I promise. All right, so all said and done, all wired up, ready to rock and roll. Check it out, battery, it's right there, positive and negative posts, runs along to the switch, goes in there, runs along the front, boom, boom, boom. You saw the front, everything is set up. Now, moment of truth. Listen for it. Ready? We have power. All right. So that's cool. That's good. Now the next step, I guess, is going to be, I want to see if I can get the windows working properly. I have to do a little work on some switches. I'll get set up for that. We'll get right into it.